Hello and welcome everyone to day 8 of the Daily Creative Challenge for Photoshop. I am your host Sam Peterson and we're going to be jumping into a new challenge today. If you guys want to join the challenge, let me show you how to do that. You can go on over to behance.net/challenge/Photoshop and you'll see the landing page here. If you see the top part, you'll see this big blue button where you can register for the challenges. Just click that, you'll get notifications when we go live. If you want to see any challenges you have missed, they're all down here. You can click watch video to watch the replay, and you can click get started to get the starter files for all these challenges. So today we are doing materials and textures. Design text with a realistic 3D look and texture using Bevel and Emboss. So we're going to kind of do like a metallic texture with some sort of a a metallic looking text with some sort of like rust texture today. Also, hello to Mercurial, everyone in the chat, Ferry, Lisa, Susan, Frank, Chad, I saw Sean in there, Valder, Tatiana, who else? Steve, I definitely saw Steve in there. General Kenobi, greetings, General. Stony, hello everyone, good to see y'all. So if you want to join these challenges, the best place to post them and to share your creations is on the Discord. So the Discord is here. You can go to the feedback section challenge to get feedback on any challenges you do. If you go to the advice section, you can ask a question. Lots of cool stuff going on here. We got mentors giving feedback. We have Ted, we got Valder giving feedback. Lots of awesome entries here. So check them out if you haven't. There's a lot of great inspiration, a lot of good feedback to get and give. So definitely give that a look. We'll be looking at that a bit more at the end of the stream. But for now, let's jump into our challenge. So I'm here in Photoshop. Let me scroll down on the chat so I can actually keep up with everything. Marcia, Chris, hello. Lorianne, Megan, welcome on in, everybody. Good to see ya. This is our second to last challenge, so only one more after today. My time at the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge helm is coming to a close soon. But I really appreciate everyone coming out for all these. It's been a lot of fun. We still got 2 more to do, so let's get into it. So first off, I'm going to use the text tool. You'll see the big T here on the bar. Also hotkey is T. And if we click that, we can type something in. So I'm going to do all caps lock and I'm just going to do like texture. I just want maybe like a white text for this. And I'll move this with the move tool right into the center there. So we're going to create like a 3-dimensional metallic looking text. How do we do that? Well, we double click on this texture layer here. Actually, let me get is my head in the way? Let me move this over here. All right, good. So you should be able to see the layers clearly. We have the layer styles panel now, if you double click that. So what I want to do to create this sort of metallic text is do a bevel and emboss. See this top one right here? Now there's lots of options for this. Mine are already set up, so this is mostly what I'm going to be using. We can click on the bevel and emboss to get options for it to see what we're doing exactly. So my depth is at 448%, size 24. There's lots of options here. You can try different styles. I'm going to be using inner bevel, but you can try like outer bevel. You can see how that changes it. Let me see if I can move this over here so you can see it a bit more. Outer bevel is actually a pretty cool look. You know, it kind of gives it a bit more boldness. We have emboss, which is a little bit different. It's kind of a cool look as well. You can try pillow emboss, stroke emboss. But for our purposes, I think I'm going to be doing inner bevel. I kind of like the look of that, the sharpness of the edge. Hey, Wade, what's going on? Welcome on in. Good to see you. Robert, hello, hello. So what else? Chisel hard, I think, is the one I'm going to be using. It gives a very like hard and metallic look. You can try smooth, though. It's kind of neat. It's like the edges of this are a little bit more rounded. I kind of like that. It's a slightly softer look. Chisel soft looks a little odd to me, some of this kind of striping here. So I'm going to go with chisel hard, but you can try all things with this. Depth, you can play around with that. It changes the lighting effect slightly. I think 448 for me is dialed in pretty nicely. Size as well. That's actually just going to kind of affect the size of that bevel. So if you want like more pointed text in the middle, you can crank it up a bit. That's That's about like 140 plus for me. But if you want like a thinner bevel towards the edge, you can go down with that a bit. I think I had it at like, where did I have this? Whoops, 448 was my other one. Let's see. Yeah, I think I like it around there. 16, 17, yeah, I kind of like that edge. Now this is where you can get a lot of variables with the angle, the shading here. You can actually click this little circle and drag and change the light source. Now you're gonna get some dramatic differences here. So you can play around with where exactly the lighting is coming from. You can make it more overhead, you can make it more like straight on in the center. I kind of liked where mine was. It was dialed in pretty well. But I do want to show you the gloss contour here, these options. This is really what's going to affect the sort of like look you get from it. Now you can play around with the gloss contour pattern and all these settings here and the lighting. You're going to get tons of variables and different effects. So there's a lot to mess with because just changing the lighting can change a lot and the gloss contour is going to affect that as well. I like this double peak right here. I think this gives us a nice sort of metallic look. So that's the one I'm going with. But feel free to play around with these, the lighting, the size is exactly what you want, dial it in just right. But I think that's pretty good for now. So I like that. We already kind of have a metallic look. There's some nice like reflections and everything. But I want to do a sort of rustic, aged metal look on this text. So let's do that now. I have a photo texture here. I believe I got this off of Unsplash. I think it may have been just like the first texture that comes up if you type in metal texture. But I'm going to do Control A, Control C. This is how I like to bring photos into my document. Just to copy it, and then Control V, and there we go. So I'm actually going to stretch this out by holding Shift to stretch it non-uniformly. It's a texture, so it's not really going to look off too much if you stretch it a lot. So I'm not too worried about that, since it's kind of like a organic, abstract texture. So what I'm going to do is right-click that and do Create Clipping Mask, so it clips it to my text layer below. From here, I'm going to right-click my layer, that texture layer I just put on, and do Convert to Smart Object. I'm going to make some changes, and I just want to do it non-destructively. So from here, I don't really like the rust color. I like the metal texture, but I'm going to create my own sort of rust effect. So I'm going to do Control U, which is the hue and saturation adjustment, or you can just go up to image adjustments and do it manually, hue and saturation. But it's good to use hotkeys for any effect you use frequently. Hey Annika, welcome on in, good to see you. So I'm going to crank the saturation down just so it's more of a normal metal texture and not rusty. I may keep a little bit of that. That kind of looks cool. That's what it looks like fully desaturated, but maybe we'll keep a little bit of that red. I like that. That looks good. And I can always just adjust that because we have a smart filter with the smart object. So from here, I think this is where we'll create our own manual rust effect using layers, styles, and brushes. So I'll do Control Shift N, just the hotkey for a new layer. And I like to name all my layers to keep organized, so I'll do just texture paint. This is where we're painting in the texture. All right, so let me switch to a brush that I like. This is a good place to play around with brushes, different texture brushes. I'll show you some of the ones I'm using, but this sampled brush 1.3 in my brush pack is one that I use all the time. So I may pick a nice rust color like this, something that's kind of reddish. I'll just click around here. So what I want to do is double click that layer, and we're going to go to Inner Shadow and click that on. Now what I like about Inner Shadow is it creates this kind of almost like ambient occlusion-esque shadow right under the color. So it looks like it's indented. It looks like it's rusted inward a little bit, and the outer layer is overlapping it because of that shadow. So let me zoom in more to show you what I mean. So we'll click on Inner Shadow. You can see the settings here. You can do the angle. So if you want the lighting coming from a specific angle, you can tweak it here. The distance is basically what it says. It seems like the layers are further or closer together. So I really like 5. I want it to be pretty close, like it's just one layer that's broken off. The size is kind of the softness of that shadow. I want it to be a pretty tight shadow, like there's a hard light on it and it's just barely raised off the surface. So you can play around with those. Opacity for me is at 45. You can try tweaking that. The more you do it, the harsher it looks. You can see how harsh that is. But if you do it too much, you're going to lose that shadow effect. So I think somewhere like 45, 50, somewhere in there looks good. At least for my setup. You're going to have to play around with it and see. Now from here, I'm just going to do Control A, delete, Control D to deselect. A lot of hotkeys that I use. I'm just going to try to find a good color. Maybe something a little bit darker. That's kind of neat. Maybe a little bit more red. You can play around with this depending on the effect you're trying to get, but that looks pretty good to me. So what I'm going to do is just zoom out, scale up my brush a bit, and just click around. Now I must have not... Let's see here. Yeah, I didn't clip it yet. So right-click that layer that we just created, create clipping mask. Along with the previous texture that we added, it'll clip it to our text layer. So now I can just click around here and create this sort of rough textured look. And this is really where you can play with brushes and just have fun with it. So this is like a really harsh effect. It's very hard-edged and it's very aggressive, I guess, if I can use that word. But I'll show you how different brushes can have nice different effects. And the fun thing about this is if you go too far with it, you can always just erase it. So I'm going to go in with the eraser with the same brush texture. Of course, you could use a different texture as well. This is my eraser, same thing, and I can always click back in to ease it off. So it's kind of a fun push and pull exercise just to get the amount of like rust and rough look that you want. So I won't spend too long on this, but just play around until you get a sort of aged, rusty effect that you like. I think this is pretty cool. So I'm going to create another layer. Actually, I'll duplicate this layer. So we already have the effects applied just how we want, but I kind of like keeping my layers separate if I want to try different effects. So we have like our big chunks of rust that are broken off in this one. I want to do some more like light texture. So I'll do Control J to duplicate this, Control A, delete, and now we have a new layer that's blank, but with the same effects applied. Let's right click that, create clipping mask to make sure that is clipped as well. And this will just give me a chance to play with different brushes and not ruin what I just created. So let's try a different brush. I like this messy brush. I can get some kind of fun effects with this. Maybe I'll lower the opacity for a less aggressive, dramatic effect. And you know what? The metal texture we put on is pretty cool, but it's almost too much. So I'm going to ease off the opacity of that. Let's step back. And that original one that we put down. Oh, whoops! I'm doing that on my wrong layer. Let's name this texture photo, and the texture photo is the one that I want to ease off the opacity on. There we go. So there's a bit more of a contrast between the text. I think that looks cool. Yeah, that's pretty good. So let's do that. So I'll go back to my newest layer, and I can lower the opacity and just kind of add areas where it looks like it's not rusted through, like it's not broken through, but it's a little bit more, there's like a slight rust effect. And if you need to adjust that, just play with the opacity, whether you want it more dramatic or less dramatic. I also made this little sphere if you want to test out layer styles. You can see the sphere layer. You may be wondering what that's about. You don't need to use this. I was just kind of playing with it initially, and I thought it'd be fun to include. But sometimes when I'm trying out things, I like to do it in a situation like this, so I can really test the texture. So we just clip it to the sphere. If I want to see how like dramatic or soft, or just what effect. You can see how those have very different effects. This is much more like a gradually rusted through look. This one is a lot more like a piece broke off. So it's good to try out different textures. I was just having fun with it. I included it in case you wanted to try it as well. But you can get some cool effects with that. So that's just a little test layer for me, if you were wondering what that was, because I do believe that is in the starter file. Senden, welcome in. Good to see you. Hello, everyone. RB, hey, how's it going? So here's our second layer, and that splatter brush I was just using, that actually looks pretty cool. So let's add a little bit of splatter. I don't want to do too much, but there's like little bits of rust. I think that's kind of a neat effect. And the cool thing is you can always go back after you've added all this and ask yourself, is this too much? Is this too dramatic? And if it is, you can go back and erase it. Now we have 2 rust layers, so let me go into the main one. Try to ease off that a bit. I feel like that might be too much in some areas. Too heavy. Just click wherever I want with the eraser. I think that looks pretty good. But at this point, it looks a little dull to me, to be honest. It's a cool effect. I like it, but it's not really like popping. It doesn't have enough contrast. So I'm going to do something you guys can maybe guess. I'm going to create a multiply layer and a color dodge layer. Now, these are my layers I use for shadow and lighting very frequently. I've used this in a lot of the previous challenges we've done. Just some of my personal favorites. You can also use a levels adjustment and just mask it exactly where you want it. You can use an exposure layer and mask that as well. But I like doing this because I can vary it on the fly with a brush. And that's a technique I'm pretty used to using. So multiply layer. I'm going to use like a very, very desaturated, about mid-tone bluish color. And I'm going to use a big, soft, round brush like this. Now we're going to right-click this and clip it to the mask as well. We're clipping everything to our text. And maybe just do something like that. I'm going to ease off the opacity a bit. I don't want this to be too dramatic. Just to give it like a little boost. There we go. Same thing for my color dodge layer. Right-click that, create clipping mask. And I'm going to choose a very dark, very desaturated, warm color. Kind of an orange. Because color dodge is very powerful. You don't need to go too crazy on the brightness. If we chose a really bright color, it would look like this, you know? It blows things out pretty quickly. But if that's what you want, just be aware that it's very sensitive. Maybe I'll crank that up a bit more. That's kind of neat. Crank that up even more and maybe just get the very top. Like the light is hitting from the... Like there's a hard light hitting from the top of it. We already got that effect with our original options for the Bevel and Emboss. So you can kind of enhance that. Keep in mind where it looks like the lighting is coming from. That's kind of neat. See how that boosts up the lighting. With the multiply layer off and the color dodge layer off, it looks like that. And with them applied, it looks like that. So I think that's a bit more of a dramatic effect. A bit more lighting in it that I think looks good. Let's see here. All right, lastly, I think this is looking pretty solid. And of course, if anyone has any questions in the chat, let me know. Lens flare, yeah, we're missing a lens flare. I knew there would be another multiply layer in there somewhere, yeah, you know it. And we're not done yet. We still got more to come. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate. I'm going to go down to the bottom where our text layer was, and I'm going to Control J to duplicate it. I'm going to go to the bottom one, even though that's our original, just to keep my my clipping masks intact. And I'm going to right-click this, and we can do a rasterized layer style. That should do it. So now we have a rasterized, flattened text right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to Edit, Transform, and Flip Vertical. We're going to do a little cast shadow. We've done this in a previous challenge as well. Maybe I'll bring it down here. I'm gonna lock the transparencies, this little checkerboard, which basically means you can't affect any of the pixels, or you can't affect anything outside of the existing pixels. And I'm gonna do that shadow color I usually use for multiply. Let's crank our opacity to the max to make this quicker and easier. And this is just gonna be the color that I'm using. Fill it all in. We can do multiply, change the blending mode up at the top to multiply. And from here, I'm just gonna do a sort of free transform. So I'm gonna get my move tool. I'm gonna control or command click the center piece at the bottom. And from here, you can kind of warp it to get that shadow effect. But I think for our circumstance, the lighting looks like it's kind of coming from the top and maybe slightly the front. So instead of a cast shadow out front, which looks cool, I think that's a really neat effect. But I think I may try it in the back, and maybe we'll just do very low, very subdued. You can adjust it depending on the perspective that you're trying to achieve. So maybe something like that. Click that. Oh yeah, and I can make this, it's probably a good idea to make this a smart object. But then I'm gonna go up to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and play around with this. I want an intact shadow, but I do want it to be softened quite a bit. So maybe something around 7, 8. That looks decent to me. I can always adjust it if I want to lower it down a little bit. And lastly, what I could do is I could create a mask on this. So right at the bottom layer panel, the little triangle with the circle in it, you can click Add Layer Mask. And if we paint with black, that will conceal. Black conceals, white reveals. It's a handy rhyme that I think I remember Jesus saying, and I've always remembered it since. So I'm going to take my soft round brush, and you can hold shift. If you just want to do a horizontal drag without going up or down, just hold on shift, and it'll make it so you can only go up, or you can only go vertical, or you can only go horizontal when you hold on that. So I'm gonna try this. Maybe a bigger brush, just to soften the edge there. That looks kind of cool. We can also play around with the opacity, but I kind of like where it's at. It could also darken it, Control L for levels, just the levels adjustment. I'll always tweak that if I want as well, but I think we're good. So that is it. That is our text effect. I think I kind of got everything I wanted out of this. I like the lighting that we added, the additional lighting. I think that really helps sell that effect because it looks like it's just very neutral light, very unexciting. But I think that boost in lighting right there really makes it pop out. And we get some nice depth with the layer styles in this texture effect. So just play with that, have fun with it. You don't need to do like a rusty text effect, but between the layer styles for the sort of metallic look and the texture layer styles with the inner shadow, you can get some really cool depth and look with this. So let's take a look at the Discord because we've been having some awesome submissions. I've been seeing some really cool ones for all these challenges. Mercurial just coming in with the RoboCat. I like it. I like the little heart shape here. Ooh, the eye is cool. This is looking good. It could be really cool to see a little bit of like that ambient occlusion shadow we talked about right around the edge, or at least of the upper part of this body one. I think that would really sell that depth even more. I like how we can always count on Mercurial for the good cat challenges. And then Dorina, this one was really great. I love the watch glow on this. Great job. We got the overhead from the lighting back here. That's sort of like rim lighting around the head. The lighting in contrast is looking really solid. I think I actually saw Valdair giving some crits on this. This was a really good crit by Valdair, really fitting that contrast with the person and with the background. That's a huge key for these composites, is making the contrast of one image fit the other. So the darks and the lights are kind of in that same range. And then looks like Dorina adjusted that and looks very, very solid. I saw this one by Snow. This was great. I love the coloring on this, like that blue, the blue shadows and everything. You nailed that. And then the rim lighting. I love that sort of warm, subtle glow. I'm not sure if that was with like the screen layer or just the hue and saturation, but I think it fits the scene really well. It's not like too overpowering, and it really gives like a realistic glow from behind. We got a cool double exposure from Sparky. I saw this one too, um, by Vibe Have. I'm not sure if I'm saying that wrong, but this is really cool. Robo human composite. The edge along the head there is very convincing. The lighting seems to work really well too between the images. Got some robo effects, a sky replacement, really cool stuff. Oh, it looks like Janet did 2 robo effects. I love the glowing eye. That's always a fun one. These are really cool. I love the blue tint you got on these. It's a really nice contrast to the skin. I like that almost sort of like glowing effect too. It almost looks like there's lights within the robo head, like these subtle, like, you know, indicator lights or something that are creating a little bit of illumination. So awesome job, everyone. These are looking great. Keep them coming. Heads up that this is going to be 2 weeks of replays after we conclude the daily creative challenges. So there won't be another one for 2 weeks, but we'll be replaying these, which will give you extra time to work on them if you so choose. I will definitely be checking them out and looking at them. So keep posting, keep working. These are looking great. Keep it up. And thanks so much for coming out today, everyone. Tomorrow is our last challenge. I will see you then. It should be an exciting one. I think it's one that most people probably haven't seen before. So I'm looking forward to it. But thank you so much, everyone. I will see you next time.